Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
After listening to today's news, you'll know first, OpenAI targets $20 billion revenue by 2025, tripling compute power and expanding into ads, and a Jony Ive-designed hardware device. We'll analyse why this multi-front expansion is a turning point and how it could affect the competitive dynamics against rivals like Google and Meta. Second, CEO confidence hits a 5-year low as 56% of companies see zero ROI from AI, creating a deep implementation chasm. We'll explore how this trough of disillusionment could transform enterprise AI strategies and engineering workflows to overcome the massive implementation barriers. Third, Walmart-backed PhonePe eyes a massive IPO with nearly 50% market share in India, intensifying its payments duopoly with Google Pay. In this episode, we'll break down this critical IPO and what it signals for platform ecosystems and the future of global tech regulation. Fourth, the agri-tech revolution is creating a great farm divide, sparking a right-to-repair battle and major FTC scrutiny over lockdown software. We'll examine how this core problem may impact innovation cycles in agriculture and the future roadmaps for both farmers and tech companies. Fifth, a politician with MND uses an 11 Labs AI clone voice in a government meeting, a breakthrough that raises urgent questions about digital replication rights. Today, we'll take a closer look at this technical breakthrough and its implications for developers, lawmakers, and the emerging field of digital human rights. Let's start with a single statistic that might just change your entire perspective on OpenAI. The company's annualized revenue is on track to blow past $20 billion in 2025. For perspective, that's up from just $6 billion in 2024, a more than tripling of revenue in a single year. So how is this happening? According to OpenAI's Chief Financial Officer, Sarah Fryer, the growth is tracking almost perfectly with a massive expansion in one key resource, computing power. The company has tripled its capacity, rocketing from 0.6 gigawatts to nearly 1.9 gigawatts of power, while its daily active user figures continue to hit all-time highs. A while back, we called this OpenAI's capital as a moat, the Stargate scale build, and this capacity jump is that plan showing up in the real world. To put that 1.9 gigawatts number into perspective, you have to understand the cost, which is just mind-blowing. Research estimates that building just 1 gigawatt of AI-ready data center capacity costs somewhere between $29 and $35 billion. We're talking about facilities that can span hundreds of acres with the individual GPUs, the brains of the operation, each consuming up to 1,200 watts of power. It's an astronomical investment. We previously flagged that the total infrastructure tab could approach $1 trillion by 2030. Consider today's 1.9 gigawatts, the bill arriving in installments. Remember the $15 billion power grid appetizer we talked about a while back? If that was just the appetizer, the main course is just being served. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. OpenAI confirmed it will now start showing ads inside ChatGPT, a major shift for the chatbot that has captivated the world. We said a while back that ads were coming testing on free and lower price Go plans in the US, and now the company's making it official. Now, this move is significant because it puts OpenAI on a path very similar to Google's search business. This introduces a potential conflict of interest between its original mission to benefit humanity and the new commercial pressure to generate revenue. Can an AI model remain truly neutral when its answers might be influenced by the highest bidder? That's the core tension here. To their credit, as we discussed before, OpenAI has promised ads will sit outside chatbot answers and be based only on the current conversation, not a long-term profile. The question now is whether that separation holds under commercial pressure. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. In a move that signals a dramatic change in strategy, OpenAI's policy chief says the company is now on track to unveil its first ever physical device with a target date in the second half of 2026. Now, this is a bold, some would say risky move, especially since we just saw dedicated AI devices like the Humane AI pin fail spectacularly in the market. But OpenAI is betting it can succeed where others couldn't, partly by partnering with legendary former Apple designer Jony Ive. The vision isn't just another gadget, it's to create a device that offers a more natural, less intrusive experience than a smartphone, moving away from constant screen time and towards seamless background AI assistance. This all begs the question, what is the real end game? According to the company, the next phase isn't just about chatbots. It's about creating agents and workflow automation that run continuously, carry context over time, and take action across tools autonomously. Now, get this. These continuous agents present huge technical hurdles. For example, models currently struggle with something called the lost in the middle problem, where they forget information from the middle of a long conversation. But if they solve it, the business model could be revolutionary. We're talking about a shift to what some experts call outcome as a service, where you don't pay for the tool, you pay for the AI to achieve a specific result for you. The company is keeping its balance sheet light by partnering for hardware instead of owning it, maintaining maximum flexibility, exactly the OPEX heavy approach we discussed when those 100 megawatt power commitments started showing up. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. We're seeing OpenAI partner with Microsoft for its computing power, while at the same time, its biggest competitors, Google and Meta, are taking a completely different path. They are spending billions to design their own custom chips. This gives them more control over performance and long-term costs. OpenAI's approach gives them flexibility, but it also makes them dependent on a partner, which could be a critical vulnerability down the line. But the mission for 2026 is clear. Prioritize practical adoption in critical fields like health, science, and enterprise. The AI gold rush is accelerating, and OpenAI is building the infrastructure, the software, and now the hardware to lead it. We just talked about OpenAI's multi-billion-dollar bet on the future of AI. But on the ground, the view from the C-suite looks a lot less certain. In fact, it's pretty grim. A new report shows only 3 in 10 chief executives are confident in their own company's growth for the next year. Believe it or not, that is a 5-year low in confidence from the people at the very top. So the thing is, tech experts have a name for this phase, the Trough of Disillusionment. It's a predictable pattern we've seen with technologies like the internet and cloud computing. The initial hype wears off, the real-world challenges become clear, and confidence dips hard before the technology truly matures. It seems the C-suite has officially entered the trough for AI. A massive global survey of over 4,000 CEOs just dropped, and it shows a leadership class grappling with massive uncertainty. While 1 in 3 cited cyber risk as a major threat and 42% were worried about the sheer pace of technological change, the real story is about one technology in particular, artificial intelligence. The situation presents a fascinating duality. The very AI tools they are rushing to adopt are also making that cyber risk worse. For instance, cyber criminals are now using AI to create incredibly convincing phishing emails and even automated ransomware attacks. Research shows that a staggering 80% of ransomware attacks are now AI-powered, so CEOs are caught between a rock and a hard place. Adopt the new tech for a competitive edge, or risk opening the door to a whole new generation of threats. And that fear about the pace of change isn't just about the technology itself, it's about the immense, costly, and chaotic process of changing an entire organization. We're talking about the huge cost of reskilling the workforce, the potential for layoffs, and trying to manage employee morale through it all. One study found that over 60% of CEOs are pushing AI adoption faster than their employees are comfortable with. That's the real source of the anxiety. The single biggest question on CEOs' minds is whether they are transforming fast enough to keep up with AI. And the data reveals a sharp, unforgiving divide. While some companies are thriving, a staggering 56% reported they have seen absolutely no financial benefit from their AI efforts to date. 0. But why? Why are so many companies, after investing billions, seeing nothing in return? It's not as simple as just buying an AI tool. Actually, the research points to what's being called the AI implementation chasm. Many companies are struggling to integrate AI with their old legacy systems. They have a massive shortage of skilled AI talent, and often their data is just not good enough to produce reliable results. It's a perfect storm of technical and organizational barriers. This isn't just a slow start, it's a fundamental split creating a new class of winners and losers. The report shows that companies seeing major gains are the ones applying AI widely across their entire business. The ones seeing nothing are still just experimenting. The gap is widening, and fast. Interestingly enough, a lot of that experimenting isn't even a formal top-down strategy. It's what experts call shadow AI. This is when employees trying to be more productive use public AI tools without any company oversight. They might be pasting sensitive company data into unapproved chatbots, creating huge security and data leak risks. One report found organizations are seeing over 200 incidents a month where sensitive data is shared with AI tools. So while the CEO is worried about strategy, the real problem might be uncontrolled adoption from the bottom up. This prompted PwC's global chairman to go on the record with a blunt assessment. He said, quote, AI is now a must for companies around the world to adopt. The question is how. So that 5-year low in CEO confidence isn't just about vague economic fears. It's a direct reflection of a new reality. A growing number of leaders are looking at the AI revolution, looking at their own companies, and realizing they are already being left behind. So while much of the corporate world is wrestling with the ROI on AI in India, a different kind of tech giant is preparing for a massive win. A payments company backed by Walmart, PhonePe, is about to go public, and it already has a stranglehold on nearly half the market in India. This isn't just a startup story, this is a heavyweight move. PhonePe used a confidential filing route for its IPO, which is a very deliberate and savvy strategy. This route, introduced by Indian regulators, lets a company keep its sensitive financial data and strategic plans under wraps from competitors while it tests the waters with big investors. It's a way to avoid the public hype and potential crash that we saw with other tech IPOs, showing a much more mature approach to entering the market. The biggest players in the world are cashing in. Walmart, Microsoft, and Tiger Global are all expected to offload part of their shares in the IPO, but that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is understanding the ownership structure. While PhonePe is celebrated as an Indian success story, it's majority owned by US-based Walmart. When we place India's national push for Atmanirbhar Bharat, or a self-reliant India, alongside the fact that a foreign company controls the country's most critical digital payments infrastructure, the contradiction becomes clear. It's a totally different strategy than China's strict protectionism or Europe's focus on data sovereignty, and it raises huge questions about the future of India's digital economy. To understand the scale here, you have to look at the numbers, and they are jaw-dropping. PhonePe has more than 45% market share on India's massively popular Unified Payments Interface, or UPI. And UPI is a public good, like a digital road, where transactions are free for users and merchants. So how do they make money? We'll get to that. The latest data shows PhonePe's share is actually closer to 48%, and together with its main rival, it processes over 13 billion transactions a month. We're talking about a platform with over 600 million registered users. In a single month, PhonePe processed nearly 10 billion transactions. This all points to a core conflict over digital dominance. PhonePe's main rival is Google Pay, and together they have such a lock on the market that the regulator is now hesitant to enforce its own 30% market share cap, fearing it could disrupt the entire system. It highlights a massive risk. If one of these two giants has a problem, it could impact the whole country's economy. And now the endgame is in sight. The money from this IPO is a war chest, not just for payments, but to fuel PhonePe's ambition to become a super app expanding into e-commerce, insurance, and wealth management. They've clearly learned from their rivals' mistakes and are being very strategic, and they're already succeeding. Despite UPI being free, PhonePe just turned its first ever adjusted profit by cross-selling these other services to its massive user base. The company was already valued at $12 billion back in 2023, and with a buoyant market, this IPO is set to be massive. With regulatory approval secured and a foundation built on nearly 50 million merchants, PhonePe isn't just preparing for a public offering, it's cementing its control over one of the largest digital economies on the planet. Speaking of technology, completely reshaping an industry, our next story takes us from the digital marketplaces of India to the farmlands of America, where a high-tech revolution is also underway. Forget the old image of a farmer on a tractor. The future of farming looks more like Silicon Valley, with AI, satellite surveillance, and data analytics transforming how food gets to your table. A US Department of Agriculture report reveals a striking trend. While the number of farms in the country is shrinking, the ones that remain are becoming incredibly tech-dense. We're talking about tractors that use remote cameras and sensors to spot and spray individual weeds while driving at 15 miles an hour, a massive leap in efficiency from old blanket spraying methods. What really brought this to a head, though, was the software. This new tech often runs on proprietary lockdown systems, sparking a massive conflict over the right to repair. Farmers are finding they can't fix their own multi-$100,000 machines, because they don't have access to the diagnostic software. The situation got so serious that in January 2025, the Federal Trade Commission actually filed a lawsuit against John Deere, accusing the company of monopolising the repair market. This decision brings both incredible efficiency and comes with inherent risks, making farmers ask a critical question: are they trading short-term gains for a long-term dependency on the tech giants? And this isn't some niche experiment. A 2024 McKinsey survey found that a staggering 57% of North American farmers are likely to adopt new yield-increasing technologies within the next 2 years. But this tech also creates what some are calling the Great Farm Divide. After all, these technologies are expensive. An AI system can cost up to $75,000. This means agritech primarily benefits large, well-capitalized operations, which is accelerating consolidation in the industry. Supporting this, USDA data shows that over a 40-year period, the amount of cropland on large farms, those over 1,000 acres, has nearly doubled, while mid-sized farms have shrunk to half their former number. Agri-tech giant Syngenta now offers software called CropWise, which uses AI and satellite imagery to alert farmers to emergencies, telling them to check the southeast corner of their field for a pest outbreak. The system is even fed with 20 years of weather pattern data, allowing it to predict what conditions will lead to what outcomes. This is incredibly powerful, but it raises a huge question about data ownership. As these platforms collect terabytes of information on soil conditions, yields, and practices, who actually owns all that data? The American Farm Bureau Federation has established principles stating that farmers should own the data from their own farms, but these are not legally binding. The concern is that a few large corporations could aggregate this data and use it to influence commodity markets, giving them immense power and leaving individual farmers at a disadvantage. Other farmers are ditching spreadsheets for apps like Tend, which use their data to calculate exactly how much seed they need to order based on the precise amount of a crop they want to harvest. So what does this mean for you? According to agronomists, this high-tech revolution isn't just about efficiency on the farm. By helping farmers avoid crop failures, it could lead to a more reliable and secure food system and potentially lower prices at the register. It all boils down to a fundamental shift in mindset. As one farmer put it, some of these operations are now multi-million-dollar businesses supporting multiple families. And the new rule for survival is simple. If you treat farming as a business, it's a great way of life. But if you treat your farming as a way of life, it's a horrible business. We've been talking about tech on a massive scale, transforming corporations and entire industries. But our final story today shows how AI can have a profound and deeply personal impact on a single human life. The story begins with a decision that caught many by surprise. A politician diagnosed with a disease that would eventually rob him of his voice stood up in a government meeting and spoke using a perfect AI clone of that very voice. This is the story of Nick Varley, a councillor from Sevenoaks who was diagnosed with motor neurone disease, or MND. The disease started in his throat, attacking his ability to speak. Now, for this kind of technology to work, you have to be proactive. It's a process called voice banking, where a person has to record their voice after a diagnosis, but before their speech significantly declines. This creates a real accessibility gap. Many patients aren't made aware of this option by their healthcare providers in time, and there can be socio-economic barriers that prevent people from getting access to these services before it's too late. He put the emotional reality in stark terms, stating, "Your voice is such a big part of you, and no one wants it to sound like Stephen Hawking did." The leap forward here is profound. The reason older text-to-speech voices sounded robotic is that they couldn't capture human prosody, intonation, and emotional nuance. But what we're seeing now is a huge leap forward. Modern AI can analyze a voice, not just for the words, but for the unique rhythm, pitch, and emotional tone. It's the difference between just reading text and actually conveying feeling. Before his voice was gone, he recorded it, and a seemingly impossible collaboration became a reality. Those recordings were fed to an AI developed by the tech firm 11 Labs and the MND Association, which then generated a synthetic replica of his own voice. What's so encouraging is how this partnership works. This isn't a new market for AI companies to profit from. It's a collaborative model where 11 Labs, through its Impact program, provides its advanced AI voice technology completely free to MND patients. The MND Association helps connect the people who need it with the technology. It's a powerful example of tech being used for social good. He's now able to type what he wants to say, and the AI speaks for him in his own tone at public council meetings. This breakthrough opens up a whole new set of urgent questions our society has to answer. Who owns this digital voice? What happens to it after the person passes away? We're just starting to figure this out. Lawmakers are scrambling to catch up with things like the No Fakes Act and the Elvis Act being proposed to create a digital replication right. This would give individuals and their families legal control over their voice and likeness for up to 70 years after death, protecting their legacy from misuse. We are living through the creation of these rules right now. This is a complete reversal from the initial shock of his diagnosis. As Varley himself said, it's amazing because when you get your diagnosis, part of you thinks my life is over, but his life is far from over. He's not only continuing his public service, but he's also fighting back. He has already raised over £21,000 for MND-related charities through fundraising walks and runs. This isn't just a story about one man's fight. It's a powerful demonstration of technology not replacing humanity, but restoring it, giving a voice back to those who are at risk of falling silent.
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.